In 1854, W. E. Ward, who many considered the finest mechanic ever in the fastener business, invented the rolling machine for rolling the stem of carriage bolts from square stock to round stock, and also in the same year invented and patented the first hot form nut maker. Ward also invented an open die bolt and rivet machine. Ward merged with Ritzel, Birdsall, and Ward. In 1852, the Bay State Screw Company was organized in Taunton, Massachusetts, and this is my greatest treasure that I have here. I have a board that's probably 130 years old showing the wood screws that this company made. In 1860, this company sold out to American Screw, who was one of the giants in the screw business, but is also no longer with us. American Screw started out in 1856 with $1 million capitalization. That was a lot of bucks back then. I have some of the most beautiful American Screw catalogs up here that I got from a man who was vice president of American Screw in 1876. You know, that's way back. I brought most of those catalogs with you, and what I really want you to look at, if you have any interest at all with the beauty of the catalogs, feel free to open them up carefully, please. Look at the beautiful illustrations and the painstaking work that these people did with their pen sketches in them. I mean, I think it's really wonderful. American Screw introduced thread rolling. At one time, American Screw had a museum on Eddy Street in Providence, Rhode Island. I guess Joe would know about that, Rosamond. In 1850, W.J. Clark introduced the first plow bolt. Asa Cook of Hartford and Waterbury Farrell of Waterbury, Connecticut both started selling cold heading machinery about the same time in 1870. It was in 1864 that William Sellers of Philadelphia perfected the Franklin Institute screw thread that would be adopted as our U.S. standard. So what does one do when he retires? Well, he only knows nuts and bolts. He cleans out his desk at work, takes the junk that he's had hanging on the wall, his boards and all that kind of things, plaques. And, if you're a collector like yourself, you save them. You take them, you put them somewhere. Well, I just did that because I saved everything I ever had in my life, and I had so much stuff I had to take and condense it, but then I added a floor onto my house to store some of the things that I started collecting. So the third floor of my new home is filled with more junk than I brought with me here. I love it. It's me. The fastener business was very, very good to me. I made so many wonderful, wonderful friends, and I now have a museum in my home. I have to give thanks to Andy Cohn of Duncan Bolt and also Bob Hanner of my old company, because they gave me all the square head bolts that I have in my new home. My new home does not have a hex head bolt in it. I did all the square heads. I think that Vicki said that maybe next year that you would be at my home, and you're all welcome to come and look through it and look at my paraphernalia that I've collected. I also need to thank David Hirsch of Pawtucket for a catalog that he gave me from the 1870s. Pawtucket Manufacturing at that time was one of the finest manufacturers of equipment, and they were the Cadillac. In the 1870s, there was a waiting list forever to get Pawtucket's machinery. And still some of it around, and you'll find it in some of these old hot shops. I have to thank Jim Simmons of Porteous Company, who, when he left the H.M. Harper Company, he stole the brass plaque off of the front of the building, and I have that in my office now. Charlie Harper knows that I have that plaque. And Ray Doan of Porteous, he gave me his dad's, I believe he said, a Fiat catalog from the 50s. And finally, my old and dear friend who's no longer with us, Paul Lemke Jr. of Thruway Fasteners, who gave me his dad's Buffalo Boat, little stuff from Buffalo Boat. I loved him. He was one of my favorites. Those of you who have an interest, come on up. I'll try to answer your questions. And I thank you very kindly for this opportunity. Well, that's a start for you guys for your next speakers, and telling a little bit about Fastener. I don't see that many of my ex-employees here. Where's Bill Hayes and Scott and the guy Scott and Carla said she was going to be here. I wish that you guys could talk to them. People who work for me to really know how crazy I really happen to be.
Well, we've already talked to them, we know.
Thanks, Scott.
You'll have a chance to see some of this stuff a little later. See all the stuff that Mel had?